all, that's 3 questions. You're cheating. What attracted me to the story? I was completely and utterly swept up in trying to understand the reason that this man, King Edward VIII, would give up the throne for the woman he loved, for Wallis Simpson. Why he would relinquish this great position of power for love. I wanted to get to the bottom of it. I wanted to investigate. I wanted to find out why. That was my original attraction. Would I ever give up my throne for a man or a woman? I think I can have both. or all 3. First of all, I had to write the script, and that required an enormous amount of research. It took me several years. I worked with Alec Kashishin on the screenplay, and I would say in total, the research and the writing took 3 years. Then I had to assemble a cast, which I was able to do, and I'm surrounded by my most talented, magnificent cast. And then a great production team, and I was lucky to have that as well. So that's how I did it, in a nutshell. Sounds easy, but it wasn't. Well, the thing about The Duke and the Duchess, or the world of King Edward VIII, and the world that Wallis Simpson found herself in, is that it was a world of luxury and beauty and decadence to a certain extent, and I wanted to reflect that world visually in my film. And also, once again, in the modern day story, this is also an environment or a world of decadence and beauty and glamour and people who breathe a rarefied air, and so I needed to reflect that visually in the film. And also to make the point that no matter how beautiful and glamorous your surroundings, it doesn't mean that you're going to be, there's no guarantee for happiness. No, the thing is, when you make a film, you have to have strength of mind and heart and soul. You cannot, it's too challenging of a project, and this was a really big project for me to take on. So I think I went into it prepared, and I think making films is really hard in the first place, so you have to really believe in your subject matter and be passionate about it, because there will be challenges along the way, and so you have to be prepared like the captain of the ship. No matter what happens, you've got to keep going. So your spiritual foundation has to be strong from the beginning. But since I've gotten to Venice, I've applied absolutely no restrictions. I've always loved film all my life. I've been a film lover. As a young child, I was always influenced and inspired by movies. And I think I always had it in the back of my mind that I wanted to make one. So, needless to say, I see myself as a storyteller, so I don't think it's such a big jump to go from songwriting to making films, because in the end, we're all telling stories. And I was obviously attracted to very creative people, which is why I married Sean Penn and Guy Ritchie, 2 very talented directors. And they both encouraged me as a director and as a creative person to do what I did. They were both very supportive. I never set out, while I was interested in the epic romance of Wallis Simpson and King Edward VIII, I was never interested in making a straightforward biopic, because I think that truth is subjective, and one could never make the quintessential story about someone's life and say, this is the truth. It's important to understand that it is my point of view after digesting all the information and doing all the years of research that I did. And I wanted the movie to have a point of view. So I created the modern day story of Wally that Abby plays. And essentially, the Duchess's story is told through the eyes of Wally, only to emphasize further the point that truth is subjective, and that we, depending on where we're standing, and depending on who we are and what life experiences we've had, we are going to experience that story in a different way, and it's going to mean something different to each and every one of us. So that's important to know about my point of view in the film.
Hi, Madonna. Stephen Shaver from Boston Herald. Do you see this movie as sort of rehabilitating Wallace Simpson's reputation since she sort of trashed in King's Speech and Upstairs, Downstairs, recent British productions? And also, do you identify with her very strongly?
Well, I identified with her in that I think it's very common when people become celebrities or public figures or icons that we are often reduced to a soundbite. And you're given a few attributes and then you're not allowed to have anything more than that. I think that Wallace Simpson was much aligned in the history books. I think people didn't understand the choice that the king made to give up this position. I think it changed English history. It changed the history of the world in many ways. So often people greet unfamiliar circumstances with fear, and I think people try to diminish her as a human being because they didn't understand this choice that he would make. And it was important to me not to make her a saint by any stretch of the imagination, because I don't think she was. What I think she was a human being, and I tried to portray her and everyone else in the story as a human being. That was important to me, because obviously as a woman, having a child, procreation is a big part of the desire to have a child is a big part of our DNA, our molecular structure, is a big part of what we are raised to believe defines our character. And also, obviously, there's a lot of symbolism in motherhood, bringing new life into the world. I think there are many ways to bring life into the world, but I think that having a child is one of the biggest ones. And obviously, it's very important to me. I do believe that Wallace Simpson did want to have a child and wasn't successful in that area, and felt a sense of regret about that. And I believe that Wally's desire, the modern day character, to have a child, also comes from a deep sense of wanting to be a creator, to create something, and that is what we are lucky enough to do as women. I couldn't give you a percentage of how personal the movie is. I think that because I wrote it, and I think with all the things that I do, there's a part of me in everything. So to say this person's me or this situation is me would be unfair. I think artists don't create in a very conscious way of what is personal and what isn't. You just become a channel and things flow through you, and you take, and what comes out of you is obviously has the residue of your personal experience. Well, I don't see love as banal and trivial, and I don't see it as sentimental either. I think love is impossible to describe or explain as trying to understand the nature of God or the laws of the universe, etc. It's just one of those intangible, unexplainable things. What I do know is that it's the force that moves us all. And without love, we couldn't exist. So how could one make a love story and make it banal and trivial? That wouldn't be the truth.